Spider-Man Far From Home is from 2019. We are increasingly far from that decidedly less cursed year, and I'm getting increasingly rose-tinted about it. Why am I talking about it now? I mean, I think I'm at least 2 Spider-Men films and maybe 2 additional Spider-Men behind the times here, so why talk about it? And on top of that, this is very much not my fare. It's not the kind of thing I talk about on this channel. It wasn't really my decision to see it. Waifu had the remote that night and she made the call, so I ended up watching it. And I was hating it. I was really not enjoying this movie at all until it suddenly became unexpectedly interesting. By the way, that countdown up there is for me actually getting to the point of this video, but if you'll indulge me, I've got a few thoughts about why this film was not working for me. Initially, this was really lightly sketched, as in characters were very much not real people, but just caricatures of people, which is just telegraphing to you not to take the film seriously. People had comically low levels of awareness, they would notice things or not notice things as the plot required, and I noticed that Tom Holland's Peter Parker had levels of genius that also fluctuated with the plot's needs. Most of the time he was just going around being an awkward, unconfident high schooler, and then suddenly he's a mega genius despite us not really seeing him do any work to acquire this. And those moments of genius stood out as really just weird and shoehorned in, like they did not belong to the same character. And I know it's long-standing canon that Peter Parker is a Tony Stark level genius, but I just don't see him doing anything to establish that in this film. So it really didn't mesh for me. Now, Tom Holland's performance was fine. He's actually quite charming. I prefer Tobey Maguire, but maybe that's my age. Zendaya's performance, though, was bizarre. I'm not sure who that's meant to appeal to. Overall, in comparison to Spider-Man Homecoming, which I actually quite enjoyed, this one really seemed to be running on fumes, especially in the plot department. It's a pet peeve of mine, but the plot setup of just send people zipping around Europe is a trope of a disparate movie. Think of Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, or Pitch Perfect 2, or Sherlock Holmes 2. It seems to be something that desperate films do just to shake things up visually and maybe make it easier to sell the film to foreign markets. And additionally, the humour of the film really didn't work for me. The whole thing of introduce some weird phrasing and then say it lots and then have people talk about how weird the phrasing is.
Come on, Peter Tingle.
It's a very sort of Sex and the City style joke for me, and I didn't really like it then, so Spider-Man Far From Home was really just not working for me. I was getting desperate. I was ready to just get a book while Spider-Man and Mysterio did their thing. But then the film did the villain reveal. Not Mysterio, by the way. Marvel. Marvel is the villain of this film, and Spider-Man Far From Home is the AntiMarvel Movie Marvel movie. Now, what is that somewhat catchy claim based on? Well, they decided to make the villain a guy who uses these painstakingly crafted digital creations to trick people into thinking there's heroism going on, also that he can gain corporate control over a powerful legacy.
Somebody get this stupid costume off me!
The dastardly geniuses who wrote this made Far From Home a film in which the big-scale CGI disaster fests that we expect in this kind of film are all shown to be fakes, just artificial, digital, CGI corporate constructs that have no real-world impact. The writers made a film that pulls back the curtain and shows you that these giant CGI theatrical heroics are all the product of soulless corporate machines.
The story you created of a soldier from another Earth named Quentin fighting space monsters in Europe is totally ridiculous and apparently exactly the kind of thing people will believe right now.
And if that weren't enough, we find out that the big characters in this film are just phoning it in, just using replicas to do the tough work. Now, where on earth did they get their inspiration for this? Whatever could have put this scenario in their head? Spider-Man Far From Home is the 23rd movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, And by now the format is both incredibly familiar and, let's be honest, pretty darn stale.
Totally ridiculous!
The roteness of the scripting and the plot and the sort of emotional disconnect that I was feeling was so pronounced. But the way I see it, the deeply subversive writers of this film made that roteness and that disconnect the point. I personally think all this self-destructive subtext is there very deliberately, and the long arms of the much beloved and sadly missed community have gone and given this film a subversive reach around. Now, it's not just the Russo brothers who were behind some of the Captain America films, Infinity War and Endgame. This film's writers, Chris McKenna and Erik Sommers, also wrote for Community and also some more subversive fare. And so they know exactly how to turn stale tropes into comedy gold. Also, this isn't strictly a Marvel movie. This is produced by Sony. There is a complex licensing thing that I'm not going to get into. But the fact that this was produced by Sony probably means the writers felt safer taking these subtextual potshots at Marvel and Disney. I haven't seen the sequel to this, but reportedly Sony's follow-up, No Way Home, is also distant from Marvel. They are not doing the preachiness, they're not doing the woke tithing. Instead, they just focused on delivering a fan-servicey good time. And that is cool if true. I'm pleased to hear that. This certainly wasn't obviously preaching the message, although the casting was decidedly Netflix. Anyway, as much as I enjoyed spotting this sort of subversive subtext from Spider-Man Far From Home, I still can't say it exactly rescued it for me. As I've said of Scream 3 and Scream 4, you can deconstruct and point out tropes all you like, but I do feel you need to put something better in the place of the tropes that you're highlighting and criticising. So I wouldn't really recommend this, but identifying the problem of this stale superhero format is at least a start towards fixing it and making something worth watching again. Anyway, that's all I had on this. This is YouTube. You know what to do. If you enjoyed it, please do like the video and subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate that. And I'd hope to see you at one of the 8 p.m. British time Tuesday live streams where we cover a horror topic and a horror film in great depth. Those are always great fun, and it would be great to see more people in the live chat. So I will leave it here. Thanks, y'all. Tschüss.